All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. Going to check out its local and city search. They're actually combined this time. See if it has BSS. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, home post somewhere on this profile. And this is because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Over on the left, we got the highest intent peeps, Google searchers, social searchers, searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city today, right now. Focus on talk about BSS here in all our videos. Over on the right, we got the lowest intent peeps, peeps that ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. And actually, most of them have no idea what the heck boudoir even is. We reach them through interruption ads on Instagram and Facebook. And we talk about that over on our sister brand, profiles, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And over there, we currently only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so BSS is boudoir search sameness. That is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. If we got 0 slots on page 1 on Google, man, we're basically already dead here. Because we now have the data, we know that approximately 80% of Google searches never even never even go to page 2. They're page 1 and done searches only. So approximately 80% of the marketplace. So that's the bulk of the marketplace. So we're invisible to 4/5 of people from page 2 or deeper. So we got to get on page 1. But 1 slot on page 1, that ain't enough. Because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1, which means, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers, everyone's got 1 slot. Everyone looks the same. No one stands out. So guess what? A buyer is simply going to click down through everyone, open everyone's website, do price quotes, price shop, price compare, negotiate, and that kills our margins. And since we don't look any different, we do not want either of these scenarios. Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It is the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation. So that's more boudoir photographers entering the marketplace every single week. It seems like basically anytime anyone gets a new new iPhone or new camera, new gear, they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. They're throwing a website saying they shoot boudoir, and they are throwing up they're posting them on Facebook groups saying they're now for boudoir photo shoots. So the same number of sellers or more large number of sellers to the same number of buyers means it's harder for every single seller. Margins compress, people disappear. And so everyone really understands market saturation. It happened in a big way with COVID. People lost their jobs, so they still had to work. Everyone's got a phone with a great camera. Okay, easy to start a boudoir photography business. Market saturation. Now, the one most people don't know about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So it seems like a lot of boudoir photographers simply kind of, passively accept that, as a boudoir photographer, you're going to get either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. But what actually happens is, let's say you got 1 slot on page 1 on Google, you're on like slot 8. A few new boudoir photographers into the market pushes our website back to slot, whatever, somewhere on page 2. And boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, that's how it is. You normally get either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. And this is 100% incorrect. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. So I know it's false this is a false belief of page 1 equality, that a boudoir photographer gets, 0 1 slots and that's it, because I went and did the opposite. So what I discovered was that Google actually give as many slots on page 1 as somebody wants to put in the effort to acquire. So, okay, now we can build a solution around this, and we've done that. See that in 2 pictures. Now, a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer at DBP. And, if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're on page 2 or deeper, invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. Obviously, we're disappearing. But if we're on page 1, we got 1 slot, we're still basically invisible. It's basically disappearing, being price shopped against everyone. Both cases are bad. And we care about disappearing boudoir photographer because if we are a disappearing boudoir photographer, that means our It's kind of like the warning light, the flashing check engine light, the warning signal, saying, hey, our boudoir photography business itself is on the path to actually disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered through testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S cubed methodology. And S cubed methodology, it works exactly as the name says. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. So we show up there when they search them. And when we do this, when we saturate social search, that's kind of like all the snow on the backside of the Andes Mountains, the east side, down in South America. That snow melts, goes into small streams, flows into small streams, small rivers. That's social search saturation. And then that all flows into the Amazon River. That's page one search on Google is the Amazon River. So it all starts with saturating social search. And the interesting thing about SQ methodology is it's the only thing that I've seen that can allow the boudoir photography business to continue to grow in the face of market saturation and even massive market saturation. The only other second thing that could allow that is having a large, well-known brand. So brand would obviously solve that, but that takes 5 to 10 years to acquire. We don't have 5 to 10 years. AI is here taking people's jobs. We need to dominate fast and fight against market saturation as fast as possible. And something I see that kind of looking at estimates here, I believe SQ methodology can actually help people build a brand actually approximately 8x faster than normal methods because we're showing up so frequently on so many different surfaces. So it's kind of like the only turbo brand builder boost thing out there. So imagine if you've got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology, you're basically untouchable by market saturation. So an example of still growing in the face of market saturation, let's say we're in a boudoir. Let's say we're in, I want to go to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's say we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. There's 1 million boudoir photographers there. Each boudoir photographer has their own websites and they shoot boudoir. Everyone's fighting for those 10 organic page one slots on Google. Massive competition. And what actually happens is we're like, man, the only way we can compete, well, if we had brand, but we ain't got that large, well-known brand. So the only other second option is we got to utilize SQ methodology. So we take it, we crank it up to the max. And when we crank it up to the max, let's say we're ranking for the first 300 slots for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords across all of social search. And when we do that, let's say that flows out onto Google, and we saturate the first 300 slots, page one of first 300 slots of Google for those highest intent boudoir buyer searches. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that means we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And so for any boudoir buyers out there, anywhere they search, social search, Google search, we're basically the only boudoir photographer that pops up. We've literally taken all the slots from everyone else. This would be SQ methodology to the ultra super max. But if we're essentially the only one being found, whose business is growing? Ours. In the face of massive market saturation, whose business is disappearing, slowing down, vanishing? Well, it's the 999,999 other boudoir photographers that can basically only be found Google page 31 or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of searches never even hit page 2. So dude, who's actually going to page 31? Ain't nobody going to page 31. Now, once true with SQ methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. So initial benefit, more slots, page 1 on Google. Second initial benefit is actually, we take those more slots on Google, actually kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1 and putting them on page 2 or deeper, effectively making them invisible. And when we do that, we actually turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, and eventually they'll most likely exit the market. So a lot of boudoir photographers actually get this benefit better than the first one we talked about. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So the GBC universe recommends, as a recommended minimum, of getting 3 out of 10 slots on Google page 1. And that's because if everyone else has got 1 slot, our 3 slots, we're going to dominate them, look way better. People wonder why Google's recommending us so much and be clicking through ours. And in the super rare case, someone else has 2 links. Well, guess what? We are R3 still looks better than there too. So we're basically dominating all scenarios here. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality, which now we know is false. And we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cube methodology to solve all this. Achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results, utilizing S-cube, purely utilizing S-cube methodology for myself. So I want to, frank for the term here, BLCS Boudoir, I want to dominate page one of Google, BLCS Boudoir. So I utilize S-cube methodology, started with 0 out of 10 links on page one of Google. Let's see what I was able to get to. So we got organic, slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I was able to go from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. And these are my results I got purely using S-cubed methodology. All right, now here to the main event. And check out this boudoir photography business. Looks like we're heading up to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Gonna see if this business has BSS with this search. All right, so see what we got here. Boom, we got one. Boom, we got two. All right, so we got 2 out of 10. So what does that mean? That's good. We do not have BSS, but we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google search for this local slash, combined local slash city search. All right, so see where we're at here, Fond du Lac. All right, so we got one. Boom. We got two. Boom. All right, so we got 2 out of 10, page 1 Google slots 4, our combined local slash city search. So that's good. It means we do not have BSS, boudoir search sameness. We don't have 0 or 1 slots, page 1 Google search, but we have not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google search. So if you're a boudoir photographer and you've got BSS, boudoir search sameness for your own business, you're seeing the market's getting more and more saturated over time, and you feel like you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, or gonna become disappearing, because we'll talk about it in like 10 seconds. And you also see that the page 1 equality is a false belief, like everyone kind of automatically accepted because there was no like word to describe it, to say, hey, I believe this is true or not true, but now we got a word to describe it. And you're seeing the way AI is creeping in, more and more people being laid off, which, what was the last time that happened? COVID, what happened? Massive influx of boudoir photographers, massive influx, massive supply, all fighting for the same eyeball, approximately the same number of buyers. So it's getting harder and harder for each boudoir photographer that enters the market. And you're saying, okay, it looks like I do need the S-cubed methodology to kind of preempt or prepare myself for AI pushing more boudoir photographers into the market, which means there's going to be more competition for page 1 on Google search. But if I can preempt that, get there already, and it's probably already happening right now as we speak, then we can be prepared to not become a disappearing boudoir photographer. We can achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, even though more are probably going to be joining, and achieve boudoir search visibility, and get the extra bonuses on the back end where kind of the more these thematic keyword columns are attached to our brand throughout social, things like that, social search, And the higher chance we show up in, AI overview search here at the top of Google searches, and the higher chance we show up among AI search in general, you know, ChatGPT search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, Claude search, Perplexity search, whoever. When we have these like thematic keyword pillars entwined with us across all our social channels, ranking on Google, this is where the AIs pull from. So we're increasing the probability to show up in all these searches as a back-end benefit. And we're also noticing that if someone else starts using S-cubed methodology for their boudoir photography business before us in our city, all those front-end benefits, page one Google, kicking competitors off could happen to us. And those back-end benefits, them showing up in AI search instead of us. And then, well, you wouldn't be able to work with me because I'm only working with one person per city. So you'd have to figure out S-cubed methodology on your own and then implement it all on your own. And you'd have to actually meet the work output of the other boudoir photographer using it in conjunction with me and exceed us to catch up and overtake us before we overtake page one on Google, kind of push it as far as we want to. And so you've decided, all right, it's better to simply be a first mover because you need this on your way to becoming the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. So if that's you, shoot me a DM when I open up for new patient intake. Right now the hospital's closed. My DMs are closed. Cannot get in even if you wanted to. But shoot me a DM for when I do open up the doors. And we'll see if you qualify. We gotta have some questions. Gotta make sure I'm not working with anyone else in your city. And yeah, we'll see if you qualify.